Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Intelligent Construction Opportunities. We were running a little late today, but for those of you that were right on time, our apologies. We just wanted to make sure everything was buttoned up before we went live today. Intelligent Construction Opportunities does these live streams, so construction technology providers have a chance to show off the value of their apps and software for you, construction professionals. If you are a construction technology provider and you'd like to show off your particular platform, software, applications, whatever it is that you've cooked up to help the industry, contact Intelligent Construction Opportunities at info@intelops.com, and we'll be happy to have a pre-interview and figure out what it is that you want to tell the world. Today, I want to welcome back for a third time Tommy Stanek, CEO and co-founder of Graceful Management Systems, better known as GMS. Welcome, Tommy.
Thanks, Stephanie. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today.
And Tommy, I want to get into a little bit. We decided today that it's really about a show and tell. We've put on 3 different live streams profiling exactly what Graceful Management Systems is all about. And we want to be able to show potential beta testers today, and maybe specifically from the residential roofing part of the world, what's in it for them and how does this actual system look like to ingest your data. So Tommy's going to go into what I think is a beautiful icon that they have done for their business, which basically shows you the wheel, which is their logo up here, of the areas that they really ingest the data, and then the data gets fed back on itself to keep improving your projects. So Tommy, take it away.
All right. Well, thanks again, Stephanie. Thanks for having us. So the wheel, I wish I had it prepped and ready to go, but there's essentially 4 components to it. You're going to, in a traditional customer's journey, it begins with the estimate. So we represent the estimate as the yellow arrow that you see there on the top right-hand side of your screen. And then the estimate essentially turns into a schedule. That's the red arrow. And then the green arrow is tasks being delegated. There is a feedback loop where as tasks are being completed, the schedule is continuously updated. And then as a project is completed, you've got new data which are used through the analytics to improve estimates and schedules. And the goal today was we're being asked to kind of demonstrate those 4 components. So we're going to kind of walk through the customer's journey through the GMS following that path. You asked a question, Stephanie, and you said, what's in it for you? And that's those of you who are viewing who may be roofing contractors. And we're not limited to the roofing industry, but that is what we're focusing on for our beta test. So most of you are roofing contractors, and if you do other trades, we can add those as well. But here's the benefit for you. What you're about to see doesn't have to be the final product. As a matter of fact, that is why we want to partner with you, so that we can get your feedback and understand, hey, you like this, you don't like this, this is working, this isn't working, this is missing. So everything you're about to see is in its minimum, they call it MVP, minimum viable product. So we've got just the basics put in there. We do have the intelligence engine working in behind the scenes, but we're going to kind of demonstrate how that customer goes through this journey, how the GMS is able to essentially make your job easier, more efficient, more profitable, and as we have right here in our tagline, get you out of construction chaos. A lot of people call it organized chaos, and migrate into a graceful experience, because you may be the best in the industry, but there is no way that with the amount of data that you have to consider when making a decision that you can do it better than technology. Now, you may be able to do it now, but as the intelligence learns over time, you won't be able to beat it. You don't have to hear this from me. There's other programs out there. Actually, NPR did a broadcast regarding these guys who developed a program that plays the game of Go. And it learns and it gets better. And I'm thinking to myself when I watch this, well, why Go? Why not chess? chess seems far more complicated. These parts can only move in certain ways, and because Go is actually more complicated than chess. And since the first time I watched that news coverage, now there isn't a world champion that can beat this computer in the game of Go, which is processing hundreds of thousands of options. And that's exactly what we want to put in the hands of construction contractors. And this isn't because, hey, I wanted to build a software program. It's because I was in your shoes. I experienced the challenges that you're facing, and I was looking at technology to help us navigate that stuff. And the technology that's out there isn't where we're at now. Great tools, don't get me wrong, but the processing power and the abilities that technology has today is different than what it was when they were building those programs. So it's kind of like we're pivoting. So
Tommy, I
enough.
just want you to touch a little bit about just a teeny bit about your background, because I don't think we touched on it yet. What were you doing as a construction professional yourself that made you then aware of why you needed to build graceful management systems?
So I hate titles, but it is a way to identify where we were at. I was considered the vice president of a commercial and residential contractor for well over a decade. And as a executive in the construction industry, it's my opinion that you're really the assistant to everybody within the organization. When you're at a management level, if the people who are working, for your team are not excelling, frankly, I blame management. We need to identify the challenges that you're facing, how you're considering the solutions, and how we're executing those solutions. So I spent a lot of time in every aspect of the business, from the request, the initial request from the customer, through estimating, through pre-construction, through active construction, through post-construction, and all the accounting and procedural stuff that kind of interweaves there. My experience even prior to construction industry was in processes and procedures and business optimization. And so essentially that's what I did is I participated in every role out there to get feedback from people who have experience that I don't have, and understand how we can improve their not only their experience but their efficiency, both from a time perspective and from a financial perspective. And so that's the big picture. We could get a lot more granular, but it allowed me to get insight from what was taking place in the field. And guys, I was not scared to get dirty.
I just want the audience to understand for sure, Tommy, your own construction, to contextualize why you understand what needs to happen from a technical and automation perspective. Because if I dare say, historically, a lot of platform and software and apps have been built by non-construction professionals. So Intelligent Construction Opportunities is so pleased to work with you, Tommy, and GMS, because you've been there, done that. And so therefore, the software that you are bringing to life has been created as through the lens of a construction professional. So I think that's great. I just sharing that with the audience. I think it is helpful. It should be helpful to them. I want to now sort of pivot and turn to what you're going to be showing today, which is, again, referring to our wheel, the estimating and the scheduling, and how feeding into it then turns back on itself. And if you can take that part of this away, that would be great. Estimating obviously has issues with inaccurate measurements as far as roofers are concerned, fluctuating material costs, labor costs, fluctuation, variability, availability. So show people now how this all hangs together, if you can.
Gladly. So we're just going to start the customer's journey. And if you go to our website, there's a login in the top right-hand corner. It's kind of obstructed by the logo. But so we're going to go ahead and we're going to log in. We're going to do something a little bit differently. Now, the same way that you would essentially log in and create an estimate, so can your customers. So we're actually going to log in as a customer of your business. So we're logging in as a customer, and they're able to essentially take a look at what they have going on, but more specifically, they can go ahead and create a bid. They're already logged in, so it knows who it is. Otherwise, here you'd identify who your customer is. In the top right-hand corner, which again, it was obstructed by the logo, they can go ahead and set up their profile. And within their profile, they can have multiple assets. These are different properties that they own. If they want to add another property, it's as simple as finding it on a map. You can go ahead and click on it, and it will actually pre-populate the address for them right in the top. They can also manually do that. They can go ahead and upload a picture of the property, super simple stuff. In this release that you guys are viewing right here, there's not as many questions as there are relating to assets. So here they are labeling what the property is, how many stories, square footage. A lot of this stuff will pre-populate from Zillow in a future iteration, but we will also have additional questions. For example, can we get a lift up alongside the house? If not, which sides of the house can we? Can we safely have trash removal close to the house? These types of questions will be built in here so that anytime you do an estimate for a particular asset, it's taking into consideration properties that match that kind of criteria. Does it require scaffolding? Can we access it from a boom lift? And again, the advantage to you being involved in the beta testing is you're able to share with us stuff that we're missing, improve upon the stuff that we have, so that your job is easier and more accurate when it comes to creating estimates. So here we are pre-filling this information. We're going to go ahead and save that. And now we can go ahead and create an estimate for this property or any property. So we're going to select the property, and then you can select the trade. And as I mentioned, these are the trades that we've been already uploading data sets, and we can kind of dive into this, but in the admin setup, you can go ahead and add other trades. Just because we have data sets doesn't mean that you as a roofer will have access to the information, because the data sets that we have are specific to the contractors that are actually subscribing. So we don't want to build estimates based on somebody else's pricing that they've negotiated with distributors, subcontractors, or even the pace of their installers or the cost of their installers. If they have their own W-2 employees and they're paying somebody 3 times as much as you don't want us to use that data to help you with your estimates. So I know, Stephanie, we were going to talk about security at another point, but sharing what you have going on with your competition isn't helpful. It's one of the reasons that even Xactimate, for those of you guys who do insurance claims, and the insurance companies are heavily dependent on Xactimate, it's kind of creating regional averages, but that is not specific to your business. And you're well aware of that because either you've been overpaid or you've been underpaid and had to negotiate for those differences. So right now we're going to just do a simple roofing bid. I'm pointing out that there's other trades and that you can add one. And this is a history of the cost specific to asphalt shingles, and it's creating a forecast when you're installing, whether it's a grade A, grade B, or grade C, kind of a good, better, best shingle roof. Now, again, as the mouse was bouncing across the screen, we're not limited to asphalt shingles. These are the data sets that we've uploaded to date, but you can add metal roofs, flat roofs, etc. So in our demo, we're just going to obviously select asphalt roofs. And if your buyer is, leaning towards a particular manufacturer, they can go ahead and select projects that you've completed with that particular type of shingle. They don't have to. In the top right-hand corner, you can see that decision can be made for them. But we are creating an opportunity for manufacturers to start promoting their products directly to the consumer. And this actually, you may be thinking, well, that stinks. We're using those advertising dollars to actually decrease the cost of your subscriptions. So every time we have a manufacturer advertising on the GMS directly to the customer, we're using that so that you can pay less and have access to this tool. So now what we're doing is we're asking questions that are specific to this particular project. And again, in this iteration, we're missing a lot of the questions that are actually in the next release. Do you have, Stephanie, I didn't pull that up. Do you by any chance have that handy and you can share some of the questions before I move on, or I can keep going and we can pull that up later?
You keep going, and I will try and find those questions.
All right. So she already has a screenshot of the new user interface, as do I, but I'm just going to stay focused on you rather than waste your time as I start looking for it. And what's
Yep.
happening here is the GMS is mining your database. Again, this is specific to you for projects that match these like-in-kind projects. And guys, I know this is not uncommon. When you're estimating a new project and it's got some unique features that aren't common, a lot of times what we do is we go back to previous projects and we think to ourselves, what kind of matches that? So we have a baseline that we can derive an estimate for. It's got, this type of uh, challenge as far as the exteriors. We don't have a lot of staging room, or it's super steep, or we have multiple roofs. What projects match that criteria so we can use that as a baseline to build our estimate off of? And that's a great way to do it. And a lot of times you're able to maybe remember 1 to 3 projects, but the GMS is actually able to look at all of your projects and take all of that information into consideration, not just the finances, but also the Gantt charts, completed
Oh,
Gantt charts
we
from those
froze.
projects. I froze. I hear you.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay. There's your back to, yes. I think when I tried to bring the questions up,
Froze me out.
the system didn't like me sharing at the same time as you sharing.
That's
So
fine.
we can send the questions after the fact, because and just with letting people know in the audience, this is a process that Tommy and I are going through to find these beta testers. So we will be reaching out to those that registered and others to find out if this is something that they want to do. So anything we're talking about today will be packaged in some way, shape, or form as we communicate, this opportunity further down the line. So Tommy, continue.
I'll give you a simple example of some of those questions. Obviously, when you're bidding a roof, one of the first things you want to know is, are you new construction or is it a replacement? Obviously, the replacement roofs have more labor because there's tear off involved and new construction doesn't. So you don't want to look at your database of new construction roofs when you're building an estimate out for replacement roofs. What type of roof sheeting, are we dealing with? How many layers? These are just some examples. Are there skylights? So the GMS is mining your database for like-in-kind projects so that it can extract that information to be able to forecast what the cost would be and the schedule would be to essentially do another roof that matches that criteria. One of the other important questions, which is, it's not always overlooked, but unfortunately, the existing systems don't take it into consideration. And you can see it right here on your screen. When do you want the work to start? We're in Wisconsin, guys. So I can tell you that installing a roof in the middle of winter is a much different experience than installing a roof in fall or in spring. When the GMS is mining your database for like-in-kind projects, it's coming all the way down to the season that you're installing it, and it's using that information, both with regards to cost, lead times on accessing those materials, as well as the proficiency of your existing labor. So we're putting this in. I'm going to go ahead and click play, and you're going to see the GMS is now creating an estimate. Now, the cool thing, traditionally, when you're creating an estimate, it's just giving you a price. The GMS is not just mining the finances relating to your projects, it's also mining, perfect time for this to pop up, all of the completed project Gantt charts. So I'm going to give you a quick example. When you build out your templates for a lot of the existing products that are available on the market, this stuff stays stagnant, and it's essentially how you want the project to go. The GMS doesn't build its estimates based on how you want the project to go. It waits until your project goes full circle. So if you remember, yellow was estimate, red was schedule, green was tax delegation, where you kind of get stuck in the green and red area while tasks are being completed, schedule is continuously updated. And then finally, when a project is completed, that new data set, which is what it actually required or took you to produce that project, is now being fed into the analytics to be able to spit out the next estimate and the next schedule. So the GMS isn't just building out the cost to produce this project, it's also building out that Gantt chart, which you saw in the previous screenshot. Now we're selecting the project, and I guess I could go back real quickly to show you that the GMS is sorting things. Here's the example of the Gantt chart. So the customer, before they even check out, is able to view the schedule. They've got 3 options here: good quality, better quality, best quality. And then once they select it, they can go ahead and move that into their cart should they want to. So this customer has now put that project into their cart, and they could check out, but what we're going to do is we're not going to check out. We're going to just kind of assume that this is going to sit in their cart for some time. And while it sits in their cart, things are changing for you. So traditional industry standard here in the Midwest is that estimates are good for 30 to 45 days. We definitely were kept on our toes during the COVID because it felt like estimates were good for about 5 minutes. And then pricing was going up 300% every 5 minutes. And we couldn't even lock down pricing with our distributors because they were being held hostage by manufacturers. Manufacturers were being held hostage by being able to access materials, and nobody could produce the materials necessary for the manufacturers to fulfill the demand. And as a result, pricing was going up so radically, so quickly that it was difficult to lock that down. The GMS has a solution for that. And what's happening is we're now going to log out of the customer. We're going to log back in as an administrator. And this is a manual process that you're witnessing. We do have it automated where as people take pictures of receipts or upload purchase orders or invoices, the GMS is actually taking the new price and updating the pricing within your material management section here within the administration. So what I'm doing is I'm actually searching for the particular material that was included in that estimate. I'm manually changing the price. So you'll see me change that. I'm going to update it. And the cool thing is that in what's currently available on the market, when you update that price, it's essentially erasing what was there before, but not the GMS. I'm going to take a look at the version history, and you can go back and you can actually see the price of these products specific to distributor, specific to region, specific to season, how it's changing. And the GMS is using all of that history to create a forecast. And every time you upload a new invoice or a new, all right, it's going, I'm talking too much. Let me pause. Every time you upload that invoice or that receipt, it's updating that price. It's cross-referencing it with its own algorithms to see how accurate was our forecast. And then it's again readjusting its own coding actually to make sure that its next forecast more accurately reflects what's taking place in real time. So what we've done now is the price has changed. We've logged out as the administrator. We logged back in as the customer. And you'll see that the customer is now ready to go check out. And when they go to their cart, they're getting a notification here that there's been a change in price or schedule. Click refresh. So we're going to go ahead and click refresh. And you can see what the previous price was, what the current price is. In this particular scenario, we just changed the price is the only thing that modified. But if, let's just say, 2 people got an estimate for 2 different projects, they're totally different customers, and both of these projects are utilizing the same resources necessary to produce their projects. They're sitting in their carts and one of them checks out sooner than the other. The GMS recognizes that the resources required to get this project to start on August 8th of 2024 is no longer available. And this other prospect is going to get a notification that the start date has changed. So this is a real cool thing because first off, Amazon is doing this. If anything changes in your cart, you're getting a notification. So the industry is starting to expect it, and over time, they will demand it. The second piece is that your estimates are no longer just good for 30 to 45 days. They're good indefinitely. Third, your prospects are now getting solicitations through this automation, and it's much different than a person continuously following up and saying, hey, did you have a time to consider that bid, and kind of having to do that hard sale. It's telling them, hey, poop or get off the pot, like pricing is going up. If you want to get this in on your house, you better have a serious conversation now. So these are the advantages that are taking place here. I'll add one more advantage. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of play this out. So we're now going to check out. And now you guys are, this is the moment I think a lot of you have been waiting for, is like, how, I don't want to rely on technology. Oh, I thought I paused it. I don't want to rely on technology to build my estimates for me. What if there's an error? Well, this is your chance to teach the GMS what the errors are, because now you have a pre-qualified lead. They see the budget number that everybody is calling you for. They see more than that. They see the tentative schedule. They see the tentative start date, and they have time to consider that. And I can't begin to tell you, and I'm sure you guys have many more stories than I do. Hey, can you just give me a rough ballpark of what it costs to replace my roof? And like we can't even see the pitch. We don't know what the challenges are. Maybe we can't even load the materials on the roof because the driveway is too weak or there's power lines in the way. But can you just give me a rough number? And you finally get them to schedule the appointment. You send somebody out there, either they're commission-based or you're paying for them. Either way, it's money out of somebody's pocket. And if it's a commission-based salesperson and they're not getting paid, but they're doing estimate after estimate after estimate, you could potentially lose that employee. What the GMS here is doing is it's getting you a pre-qualified lead. This person has now looked at the budget. They've looked at the schedule. They look at the tentative start date. They are ready to move forward. And now they're going to ask you to come out to the home. And you have an opportunity to first verify that the information that they've put in with regards to measurements, layers, underlayment, all that type of stuff is accurate. Show them samples of the materials that they've selected, and essentially close the deal. I can't tell you how many times we've, taken hours to build out estimates, get pricing, figure everything out, send it off to the prospect, and they say, like $30,000. My uncle's brother's friend's cousin's sister would do that for a 12-pack of beer. I'm thinking to myself, well, I wish you would have just called them first and not wasted all of our time, money, and resources. So this is an opportunity to pre-qualify your leads, save your company money, and help your salespeople enjoy their job more with, actually going out to people who don't have a uncle's brother, sister's cousin who's able to do the work for a 12-pack of beer. So I'm going to hit play. If you select a date outside of the required time frame to do the pre-production steps, and it depends on where you're at, but in some cases, you have electrical hazards that need to be protected. You need to order materials. There's lead times. There's a lot of, you got to get permits. There's a lot of steps that people don't take into consideration when it comes to any work that's being done on their home. They think that the only work you do is from the time you show up to the time you leave. They don't even give us enough grace to say, that they're going to pay us to drive there. They're looking at us, you were only on the roof for 2 hours. How come your bill is for 4? Well, we had to load up the materials you needed. We had to drive there. So anyways, all of that stuff that's necessary is taken into consideration here. If you select a date that's too late, it's telling them, hey, that tentative start date, we can't honor it because you've selected a date that's too far in advance. So that's kind of built in there as well. So we're going to click OK, book now, and it's going to directly sync up with the calendars that you have, and it will schedule a meeting, a time that the salesperson that they've worked with before is available, and if they're new to the company, the first available salesperson. And these are things you can adjust in your administrative settings. Maybe you don't want them meeting with the same salesperson over and over and again. I don't know why, but if that's the case, you can set it up to be the first available salesperson. So
Can I just stop you for a second, Tommy? When you're looking for these beta testers, can you share what your ideal residential roofing contractor might look like in terms of the number of projects that they have or the number of employees, either self-performing or contracted? What does that look like? And just when you now talked about, what how they can use it and all the sort of variables, what is your expectation for bringing somebody on and backfilling that administration information, like, to your salespeople, for example?
Great question. I mean, as you've seen here in this short demo, the GMS is able to do a lot for your business, and we haven't even gotten into the post-production and showing how the scheduling works and then how that information is uploaded to analytics. So, small businesses are eligible, large businesses are eligible. We're kind of trying to target the middle, because beta testing, the objective is to make sure that it works for both. But if we start with extremely larger businesses and we do have machine learning and we're training it, we don't want the GMS to make suggestions that are essentially could be crippling. So if you have, if you're generating anywhere from $500,000 to $5 million annually, you're running at least 2 projects simultaneously, that would probably be our ideal beta tester. Also, I know a lot of you guys, you're not just doing roofing, you have siding, you may have windows involved or doors is involved, a lot of the stuff that's involving the exteriors. Right now, we're just trying to focus in on specifically roofing contractors. Again, just to take time so that this employee, the GMS is essentially an employee of yours, it just needs to be trained. And when you're training an employee, you don't train them on all aspects of your business at the same time, because they end up being, a master of a jack of all trades and a master of nothing. So we want it to master one product and one trade, and so that's the type of companies that we're looking for beta testing. After we get through the beta testing period, we'll be able to expand to contractors that do both roofing, siding, gutters, but that should be specific enough. Did I answer the question, Steph?
Yeah, I think so. I just want our audience to be really clear on that, who you're looking for and what we're looking for.
Perfect. And if you are in love with what we're doing and you don't match that criteria, man, I should have pulled this quote up. But we're not looking for the best in their trade. We're looking for the most passionate in their trade. So if you are doing something else, but you really want to utilize our product, you see the value of it, and you want to, utilize our team to grow your business, don't hesitate to reach out to Stephanie or myself. Let us know that you love what we're doing and you want to be on the list, and we can have a conversation to see if we actually have a company that doesn't fit that criteria, and we are seriously considering them, but they see that this is the future and they really want to be a part of it. And that's the kind of attitude that we need to get through beta and get into the market. So if that's you, don't hesitate to reach out. We'll be happy to talk to you and see how we can help your business in that regard as well.
For sure. And I just want to add that people can not only, contact us directly, but what we're going to try and do is the next step in would be able to have Tommy give you a full out demo, having understood ahead of time what kind of roofing contractor you are, your some of your details around the size of your business, the projects that you're running, and then you can decide if beta testing is for you. And, all I can say is automation is moving fast. Clearly, there are AI components in this software that are, helping to advise what that little green arrow keeps going back on and reiterating on the project and the outcomes that you want to have, not only for the current project, but the future projects. With that data intake, we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to be at the forefront to say, hey, this is what we need, or what about this over here, or you didn't think about that. This is construction professionals' opportunity with these beta tests to get on the ground floor, and you decide what these tools need to look like for you, for your business. And we've got a comment here. Somebody wants to know, is this platform running on Go High level? Can you address that, Tommy?
I'm glad that you asked the question, because I was about to segue and say, guys, I am not a software developer. I am super passionate about business optimization. And that's why I'm sitting here in front of you. Fortunately, thanks to the experience that I've had both in business optimization and the construction industry, we were able to put it at recognizing a tool that our industry was missing. All the pieces came together where we were able to raise the funds necessary, get the team necessary to build out this technology. But as we get into this beta testing, guys, my commitment to this optimizing your business will be nothing like the experiences you've had with your employees. I will partner with you. I do have a team that's going to be doing everything that you want it to do, that we all need these systems to do. And so that's my way of answering. If you reach out to me privately, I'd love to get you on a call with our CTO, who is the expert in the technology. We have a relatively large team that's developing all of this, and we'll be happy to answer any uh, technical questions, not from me, who has a different area of expertise, but directly from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Well, I think that, and I think that's really well put. For sure, Intelligent Construction Opportunities likes to only partner with people that understand their culture, and that's a part of the culture. The culture is to understand what you're good at and what you're not good at, what you're not trained in, what your experience is and what your experience isn't. And so part of the reason that Tommy and I decided to go at this over 3 live streams is it's your opportunity to know Tommy Stanek and what does he stand for and how does he run Graceful Management Systems and what are his beliefs. Because at the end of the day, you're not just buying his digital tool, you are buying his culture and how he runs his organization and how those colleagues all interact and work with each other. So again, LinkedIn user, if you really want to know, is the platform running on Go High Level? Reach out to Tommy, begin a conversation, see for yourself, not only an answer to your question, but Tommy stands by what he just said.
And what I will tell you is that it's available on all devices, whether you're on a PC, whether you're on an Apple, whether you're on a mobile device, whether it's Android, whether it's Apple, whether you're on a tablet. So I think that's more relevant to the user is that regardless of what type of device you're on, you have access to your information. Depending on the size of the screen, it will consolidate that information. It's much easier to see everything on a high level with the larger screens, but with the mobile devices, those are generally being used out in the field, and the information that's relevant to the field is what's displayed. So, but I would love to get into that stuff. And the other piece that I'm going to share with you is that this, again, we're not focused on building technology. Guys, this isn't my culture as much as it's our culture. This is a product that will only succeed being built by our industry. So we want a construction tool that isn't built by programmers, but that's built by the construction industry. And this is the opportunity that we're involved in. And this is what's also going to differentiate us from the products that are currently available on the market. You have an opportunity to tell us, again, what's working, what isn't, what you want, what you don't want. And I know a lot of those products have those types of features now after the fact, but tell me, how often have you submitted a suggestion and next thing you know, that's available on the platform? That's definitely available here in the beta release. We will have similar platforms after the product is fully launched into the market. But as we get later down the line, we have to triage and identify what are the major components that people are looking for. And we're not going to get off that path because that is my passion. I'm not trying to build a software program, not trying to make lots of money. I am trying to get you and your employees home. I have 5 children to be able to be present for your family. I can't tell you how many baseball games I went to, or even ski trips that I've been on, where I see my smiling child in front of me wanting to talk to me and show me something. And I'm thinking about Gantt charts and schedules and what it is that I have to do to keep things running smoothly. And we want you to be able to be present. I wanted to be present for my kids, and that's my commitment, and that's what I'm going to die fighting for.
I think off the topic, I know who asked the question. He shares well, I'll say lots of children too. And I think you would have a very good conversation, the both of you. So I might even make that introduction myself. So
Awesome.
go ahead and let's carry on, because I really want to cover those two big knobs of the platform today.
All right. So what you guys have witnessed is you've witnessed essentially three of those colored arrows. You've witnessed the yellow one building out the estimate. You've witnessed the red one building out the schedule, and you've witnessed the blue one. The blue one isn't so much of a component as it is they've got lots of names: data lake, data forest. That's where we're grabbing the information necessary to build out those estimates and those schedules. So we're looking through all that data, mining it down, finding the relevant information to go ahead and build this out. And now what we're going to do is we're going to show you the third component, which is task delegation. So once the schedule is made, you have a Gantt chart, which essentially shows all the things that are being done and what resources and who they're being delegated off to. So we've got two screens. We're actually logged into the same company. And I think it's funny for those of you who may not be familiar with the name. It looks like it's a sham company, but this is actually Sham. He's one of our developers. So he took the liberty of putting his name as a company in this release. And we're logged in. You can see the exact same screen on both sides. And we're going to do an activity on one side, and we're going to see what happens to the other side. The other thing is I'm just going to backtrack. When we were building out the estimate and we saw that some criteria changed, which changed out the price for a project that was sitting in somebody's cart, you had to hit refresh. That's the current iteration or version, but inevitably it will just be a natural push. So we're going to have to do some of that same refresh functions here, but that's not always going to be the case. It will actually just self-update live on your screen. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hit play here. All right, so we're logging into one of the projects, and this is actually the left of the Gantt chart where we're kind of going through each step that's taking place. You know, the length of time that schedule is supposed to be going, what resources are assigned to that schedule, and we're just going to manually change that something is going to take a day longer than it should have. And when we save that, what's happening now is it's re-optimizing. It's not just pushing everything back that has a predecessor. And those of you guys, I know all of you are very familiar with Gantt charts. And, you know, in order for everything to move forward based on a change that's being made to a particular schedule, it all has to be connected with a predecessor. Now, there's some steps that don't require a predecessor, so that stuff doesn't get connected because those steps can still take place. But if you move one task back, that still may impact that step that's not lined up. And the GMS is it's kind of like, and I know Stephanie told me to be careful about this, but when you're driving down a road, imagine that this road is your goal to completing a project. You've got everything mapped out. You're going to take this road, then you're going to take a right here, you're going to take a left here. It's going to take this long on each road. And, you know, a couple of things can happen. You can go ahead and exit off that road because you need to get gas or maybe something to eat or use the bathroom. And your GPS, it doesn't blow up and say you're never going to make it. It just reevaluates based on where you're at, how long you're taking to get where you are now. What are the new steps that have to take place, or is the new order of steps that have to take place from where you are to get you to the most efficient way to your destination? And our destination as contractors is getting everything installed, everything returned that isn't being used, and kind of restaged for the next project and final billing. So that's exactly what the GMS is doing, is it is recalculating routes. Now, the other thing, not all softwares that are out there do this. It's a relatively newer function. If you were to make a change to one project, most softwares, they only update that project. They don't update the impact to all the other projects that that are being produced simultaneously or scheduled next that may have shared resources. If you know this one individual is spending one more day on this job site, that means that another job site may have a delay. And the GMS is taking that into consideration. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play, and you're going to see all these projects on the right, except for the one on the top. I've kind of circled the start dates. We're going to hit refresh, which isn't captured in the video. and essentially it's re-updated all of these dates that were impacted by that one change. Now, this is a manual update. I'm going to show you guys an example with a mobile device. It's pretty much the exact same thing, but what I've done here is I've overlaid mobile. This is a mobile login, so you can still kind of see the computer screen behind it, but you can see that the GPS has identified where they're at. You can see the weather that's going on, and this particular individual who's logged in, I believe his name is James, he's supposed to be inspecting a roof deck, and he's, you know, historically, or what was built into the Gantt chart, it was supposed to take a half hour, so he's got 30 minutes. He's currently logged in, so over time you'll see that little vehicle. I am trying to get them to change it for a bulldozer or something cool, that maybe a crane. But anyways, so that will go across the screen, and it's kind of telling them, hey, within the Gantt chart where they're at, this is, you know, where they should be. And they have two options. They can go ahead and clock out because now they're going to go take lunch, or maybe they're done for the day, or they can complete the task. Also, just like in your GPS, you can see what are your next turns. Now, just like your GPS, if you go off track or you have to recalculate route, those next tasks may change. So we don't really focus in on what's next. What we're really trying to demonstrate for your employees is what is it that they're supposed to be working on right now. Let's not get overwhelmed by everything else that has to be done. Here's what your role is. Here's how much time you have. And here's where you're at in that process. So you can see right now they have inspect roof deck. They're going to go ahead and click complete task. And just like you saw in the previous screen, now what happened here in this particular scenario is they had 30 minutes, but they finished it in 1 minute. That's when we click complete task. And so this is another way that the GMS is essentially capturing how long is it taking individuals within your organization to complete these tasks. And just like with materials, so we may have a history that it took 35 minutes, it took 32 minutes, it took 25 minutes, and you know, and now what the GMS is doing is it's taking into consideration not just the proficiency of this one W-2 employee. There may be a bunch of employees within your organization that can do this task. And these are essentially, like from a GPS perspective, these are all different roads that you could take to get from where you are to where you're going in the most efficient way possible. And the GMS is calculating billions of options to identify of the resources that you have available, taking into consideration their proficiency rates, taking into consideration how much you're paying them, taking into consideration their availability, where they're at now, where they're scheduled next. And it recalculates the most efficient way to move forward. And that's exactly what's taken place here. They've been assigned their next task. And on the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see that the dates for all these projects are being impacted very simply from a clock out that was done early. Now, there's a lot that goes into this, because not only does all your project schedules adjust, but that also means, you know, material deliveries, vendors, and there's a lot of parties that are impacted from these types of changes. And the GMS does notify them through the way that they choose to set it up, whether it's email, push notification, maybe it's neither. And then the GMS will actually create a task for your administrator to manually call them. These schedules are now called dirty schedules. It doesn't just instantly update like you saw here. It actually verifies that, hey, based on these changes, all the parties impacted are able to, in fact, adjust their schedules accordingly. And it gives them an opportunity to accept, counteroffer, or decline. And based on that information, it may identify, hey, based on this counteroffer or the fact that they're no longer available based on these schedule changes, what is the next most efficient alternative? And the GMS instantly sends the next party notification to go ahead and fill that gap and keep your projects going as efficiently as possible. The most exciting piece about all of that, if that wasn't enough, is that it's learning. Hey, when we're doing these changes with this contractor and in this season, in this region, they are accepting every change, or they're counter offering every change. What's the length of that counter offer? They're declining every time. It identifies within all of this new data, what's the likelihood, and it's choosing essentially the path, not just of least resistance, but with the most cost efficiency with regards to time and money. So this is how the task management relates to, I was going to actually ask you, Steph, to put that image back up. You can stop sharing my screen. I'll look for it. But this is how, once tasks are delegated, that feedback loop is continuously updating the schedule. And then as soon as the project is completed, you've got a new project data set that goes into the analytics that are utilized to build out your next estimate and your next schedule more accurately than ever before.
Okay, well, I'm going to do my best to try. And you're talking about the little circular thing that moves around.
Yes.
Yeah, let's see if we can do this. I've got that one up.
Keep going.
Yeah, no flare.
No.
The other one wouldn't
Right.
fit in. Yeah, because of its yeah.
Size.
It actually, LinkedIn, just so people know, LinkedIn accepted, StreamYard does not. But this is another, these are things that are really important to the whole notion of beta testing. I mean, it's great to have big ideas. It's great to understand what the challenges and the issues are. But you can have certain technologies absorb what really has to happen, but we need to have these two-way streets to be able to refine. And because a lot of people think one project management software is as good as the next, and that's just not the case. Because of so many things, like this is a great example. I was able to use the particular logo that Tommy's referring to that's moving, and in the case of StreamYard, it just does not accept that type of format here. So we're left with this. But still, I mean, I still think, at least this shows people why these arrows matter, because the yellow one represents the estimating, the red one represents scheduling, the green one represents the actual analytics. Is that correct? Am I right, Tommy?
That's task delegation.
Or task delegation.
Yeah, can you share my screen? I think I got it here.
If you've got it, then by all means, as soon as it shows, I will put it. Yep, here we go. There.
Actually, I had to tie that in. I know you like just viewing the process, but we wanted to show people that this is, how the Graceful management systems functions. So every project goes full circle. The estimates and scheduling are built out of delegation, out of analytics. The schedule then delegates all those tasks, and then it's got that feedback loop. You're going to see it pop back up here in a moment. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a green dot. This is where everything's been delegated in that GPS-like format. It's continuously updating the schedule. And then once the project is completed, you've received final payment. It puts that into the analytics, and then it uses that information to go ahead and build out your next estimate, your next schedule more accurately with more information.
Very good. Yeah. So that, in a nutshell, should tell our viewers how this system is working and how it feeds back on itself. It's basically taking whatever data inputs went in yesterday and then just redistributing inside the system to actually redistribute how that data could be used for X roofing contractor today and in the future in so many different ways.
This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. What we've demoed here today, guys, is the tip of the iceberg. The buyers are expecting a totally different experience on a large variety of verticals that's coming to the construction industry, and having this information all in one place and being able to consider literally billions of historical data points and then create essentially billions of forecasted data points to then derive from that the most efficient way to move forward. Guys, this is going to change lives, not just from a business owner's perspective. Your employees are going to be happier. Your customers are going to be happier. And we haven't even touched below the surface. This is just the tip of the iceberg on what we already have in this first release. But that being said, please be aware that nothing's perfect. We're learning, we're growing. That's why we want to partner with you so that we can get that information, get the most relevant stuff out to you, and then we'll start adding the bells and whistles. And if you're not working with us, start opening your eyes, because if you're not utilizing this type of technology, you will start falling behind.
So again, if you want a beta test, you can contact Tommy directly at tstanek@gracefulmanagement.com and start a conversation. I mean, like I said earlier, that's, people need to get to know each other and trust each other. And the beta test, I believe it's free, correct? At least, for this iteration. And maybe you can tell people just a little bit about, what you expect in terms of the duration, and what might be needed just to begin the beta test.
It's not only free. As you partner with us through the beta testing, we will be offering a lifetime discount, which will be, so you will always pay less than the traditional market cost as long as you don't change your business name, the business ownership doesn't get transferred or et cetera. But that's our way of saying thanks to you. With regards to the time frame, we'd like to be in and out of beta in approximately 3 months now, because nothing ever goes according to plan, and I know everybody on this call can relate to that. So it may take closer to 5 or 6 months. But our first beta testers are going to have a lot more one-on-one attention. We do have a few. We've already got a substantial list of inquiries, but we're not just looking for contractors. Again, we're looking for enthusiastic contractors that want this software, that will be patient with us as we navigate glitches, bugs, and things. A lot of the products that are currently available out there as far as ERPs are concerned, they have functionality we don't. Our investors, and traditionally when you're bringing a product to the market, they require you to pull out a minimum viable product. We're not allowed to get all the bells and whistles out there. We need market validation. We need your feedback to make sure what it is that we've developed is already satisfying your needs. And then we're able to start adding those bells and whistles. So, essentially that enthusiasm, that passion for this is what's distinguishing the difference between who's getting to the front of the line and who's next. So those first few beta testers, we're going to take a lot more time with. Once we know we've got a nice smooth process for customers, for our subscribing contractors to get their customers through from estimate to final payment, then we'll start moving on to our next beta testers, and it should be a lot faster process. So we should be out of this in less than 6 months, ideally 3 months. And the first people we're going to spend, the first companies we're going to spend a lot more time with you than the last few companies.
Well, and on that note, I think we're going to call this a wrap. We hope you've enjoyed today's presentation with Tommy Stanek from Graceful Management Systems. We will follow up accordingly with those that are interested. If those are not, all they have to do is say no, thank you, and that's okay. There's no pressure here. We're just trying to bring certain softwares to market and allow people the opportunity to have their say and be on the ground floor of their development. So again, we hope you've enjoyed today's session. If you have any questions about doing this for your own software, your own platform, your own app, please email us at info@intelops.com, and we'll also talk about what that can look like. But I really like this little graph, Tommy. I'm glad you were able to find it and produce it. And with that, thanks everybody for tuning in. And
thank you all.
We'll be in touch. Thanks, Tommy.
Have a wonderful day.
Be on the other side.